All right, looks like we're live here. Welcome everybody to Counterbalance. This is Blood Feud. So, the three of you are standing around the grave of your recently buried father. He's been murdered in the night by cowards. Cowards after his rightful inheritance that will now follow to your uncle in his place. Custom calls for blood for blood in honor of his murder. It will now fall upon you as the eldest children and siblings to avenge his death. And as everyone is kind of gathered there, the three of you, your mother, and Ethelstan's wife, one of the daughters, your mother, Rowena, approaches you, Eadmar. In her hands is your father's sword. You can see the runic name of your family, Hammett, inscribed in runes on the blade. Grief covers her face, but she approaches you. And she holds the sword out in one hand, kind of putting the hilt towards you. And she just says, I trust this may help you in your journey for vengeance against this act.
He'll reach out gingerly for it, like almost like waiting a couple of seconds. He's torn between so long he's wanted to grab this, so long he's wanted to have it handed to him, but not like this. And there's this sickening feeling in him, like you got to be careful what you wish for. The gods hear it and laugh and then give it to you in a different way. And that's what he thinks now, but he knows what it means, what he must do. And he's glad too. So like tightens his hands around the hilt and takes it from her grasp. He's used to the weight of it because he's trained with like sand in a sack around his arm with like blunt, heavy swords. So this thing of beauty, it's pretty light, though he feels the other kind of weight to it as he gives it a. It will help, mother. It is the only answer.
And she nods, just grief stricken across her face and in her eyes. She kind of tightens her fists in anger almost. And she just gives you a nod. And she looks over to you and the rest of her children, along with her son-in-law. You guys, please be careful. I know that this is what must be done, that the price must be repaid, but I would not like to see any more of my family in the ground anytime soon.
Alden would be standing, looking over, maybe in a slight amount of envy towards his brother who received the sword, but quickly it vanishes as he looks back at the grave. He is quite a large person for his age, and the only thing that gives away his youth is his boyish face. And after his mother has spoken, he responds angrily, "Well, what are we waiting for? Let us go and cut this coward down where he stands. Make sure the whole town sees him for what he has done to us."
It will be hard with so many of our father's house warriors turned over to him. They are many. We are few, even though, and he nods at Alden, his younger brother, you have the right of it.
Athelstan,
There'll be no justice for father if we die on the spear of a pig farmer.
Athelstan, heavy, heavily muscled farmer, but he's seen his fair share of battle too. Pulls his tartan cloak around his shoulders against the wind, and looks around at the other people here at the funeral. It's notable how few remember their debts to our father, and how quickly alliances change with this bloodshed. He said, "I do not see my uncle here at the funeral, or any of his children."
Of course he isn't. The man has no honor. Why would he start now?
Are there any other people who've come to the funeral, or was it only family?
It's mostly just family. Your mother is here, along with your siblings, of course, and a couple of close family friends. People that grew up with your father, spent most of their life there. But as far as average townspeople, there's a shocking little respect being paid, other than those very close. Seems, as you said, the alliances have turned quite quickly.
I take the hand of one of the ones who've come, Elred, and say to him, "You, even when the weird blows against us, and fortune is blowing cold through our cloaks, you show your loyalty to our family, and your move at this time will not be forgotten, nor yours. Nor yours, Elfric," I say to the second one. Fickle fortune changes, and should our family rise again, your loyalty in this time will be remembered. I only wish that the oaths and the promises of the others were less empty.
And Elfric kind of gives us a light bow. I knew your father as long as anybody. He was a dear friend, an honorable man. If you succeed in the justice that you seek, trust me, you'll have my back. I'll have your back in the coming battles. And cowards and fickle traitors. It's a shame.
But we look now to Yedmar. for leadership.
Yeah, like as I'd said before, he's wanted this for so long. Now that he has it, it rankles and tastes wrong to him. But he knows he must speak. He just looks at like the fresh earth, the howl of his own father, and then to his brothers. He's not heartened by the loyalty of these few men. There'll be no battle with 6.
Mhm.
And even if we could get forces to make a battle, we'd ruin our own hold fast, so that when one of us takes ascension, we'd be weakened, taking a graveyard. So he says, we have to kill him, but it has to be lawful. It has to be in the eyes of, out in the open. It cannot be cowardly murder, like what was done to our father. Or his sons will come, and none of us will be able to sleep safe. Father always said, a wise Lord listens to his clients. You've heard my piece, and what say you, brother? And even though Alden's younger, maybe not as experienced as Athelstan, it's to him that he's looking because of like family propriety.
And Alden would open his mouth when you said that, we cannot just go and kill him. But once he explains, Alden kind of bows his head and says, "You are eldest and wisest, brother. I respect your words. But my only concern is that this viper's kin will not respect these laws. They will not respect the customs, but we may be able to turn a few to our side once again, once we have shown that we have taken the higher road."
Do you think we should call him into the Birch Circle? We should challenge him to a duel.
Yes, brother, I believe that you would be able to outduel him. And it would show our people that things will not go unpunished, but they will be done the right way. And if he does not show, it will show his cowardice to everyone.
We'll turn to Athelstan.
I will back you whichever route you choose. But a man who stabs his enemies whilst they sleep is not likely to respond to an open challenge.
True enough,
But
he could refuse us.
It is not simply for revenge, but for honor in the eyes of all men that we do this. To win back the honor that we have lost, and to live with honor. And if every move that shames our enemy strengthens us, a challenge may be a good move, even if it is ignored.
Yeah, Alden would kind of take his kind of stomp his foot in solidarity of what.
Well then, Let's go challenge our murderous uncle, he says, and finally, like a grim smile plays across his face, the first smile that he's had since hearing the news of his father. But we should be wary. If I were that fox, if I were that spavined weasel, I'd ambush us on the way home from our father's funeral. Come, let us see the rest of the family and father's men to their homes, and then we will go. I would not put it past our uncle to use them against us. He'll be turn a final handful of earth over his father's grave, or the like, and then turn, put his arm around his mother, and begin leading her down from the howe.
Athelstan puts his arm around Gundred and starts leading her as well, or trying to lead her, but she's an independently minded woman and shrugs him off.
Now, Alden would remain for a few moments, just looking down at the grave. Anger very obvious across his face. But at last he would turn down the road.
And the planning turns to kind of a grim silence as the three of you lead your mother and sister and wife back down to your home. And they bid you off with a grim nod, understanding the situation that has to be done, but clearly worry is on their face. So they do ask you, is there any supplies we can get you that would help you? We'd be happy to let you use anything that we have. All of the house is yours now. He looks to Admar.
Bring mead, bread, some cheese, arms and armor. Bring a woman to cut her hair and wash it. And then he kind of looks at the man. Why are you still standing here? Go.
Yes, yes. And the servants of your house begin to go off in search of these things that you've requested. And they do bring everything that you've asked for. The weaponry that you guys would own as part of a noble line. All your arms and armor, food from the stores, drink as well, to prepare you for anything that you would need. And they set kind of a grim meal out for you guys to dine on before setting out. As they prepare a meal and prepare your equipment for you. Just kind of a sullen atmosphere around the house. Clearly, most of the people here are distraught by what's happened. But they continue to work in accordance with everything that you've asked them to do.
And as he eats, Athelstan throws bones and little scraps to Kulwich, his Irish hunting dog that he has. So Kulwich throws bones through the door for Kulwich to go out and chase and find in the long grass outside. The dog, of course, is unaffected. It's not totally unaffected by the mood. It knows that something. It's been lolling unhappily, but now it has a little bit of attention. It does jump up and go in and out of the home, and this helps Athelstan because he knows that Kulwich is a good dog, a good guard dog, and should anything be approaching the house, he'd catch scent of it and warn them before it gets here. Should we just walk up to Cyneric's home and ask him why he did not attend the funeral? See what excuses can rise from that venomous mouth of his.
I think we'll get little truth. We must address him with grandfather around and other people. I do not think that he will back down from our challenge if there is an audience. He like rolls his tongue around like a tooth hole and like pulls a bit of a sawstone out of it from the bread, like, spits it down into the rushes, and like looks out the shutter. What time of day is it at the moment, Jeff?
It's getting towards late morning. The sun is approaching quickly towards noon.
I think noon would be best. Hottest part of the day, there might be people eating food or like going to the well, or like more people in the town than other times of the day. And I don't want to wait till nighttime. We're not Scooter Geegan like our traitorous uncle is. This must be done in daylight, so Tiwaz can give his justice and lend weight to our sword arms because we are in the right. So he's like taking his time and almost seems like ponderous as he does these things, but he's actually like stalling and readying himself. He doesn't want to like go off prematurely. Wants to wait till there's like a big enough audience. He knows that can be like a weapon that they can use to replace, not replace, but to buoy their their own strength against their uncle. Like at the moment, everything's in his favor, but he thinks that that's one way that they can level the playing field a little. But underneath it all, he may seem calm and ponderous, but is actually raging and has like childhood songs like stuck through his head, going through it like a million miles an hour, and like smells and like sitting in his father's chair and having like the unfamiliar weight of the sword at his side is extremely uncomfortable. But he's just trying to remain like implacable. I think since Alden like grew up with him, he would know this. Like it would be apparent to him that this is like largely facade. He's trying to be patient, even though all of his instincts are screaming for him to rush up the hill as fast as he can and cut the snake's head off.
Yeah, and I think everything that Yidmarf is feeling on the inside, Alden being so young and not wise enough to show this level of calm-headedness, would just be fidgeting around. He wouldn't be eating. He would be sharpening his axe and kind of, making sure his gear is on tight and making sure that he has everything on and more or less just pacing with mild annoyance.
He like slowly scrape into his bowl and finish the last of his food, and then like nod like a thin smile of thanks to the servant lady who combs and washes, cuts his hair, ready for what's to come. And he'll finally like grind out his father's chair back from him and rise as the table's being cleared away. It is nearly noon. Let's walk up past the well to speak to the snake.
The final, the male, it's not a full length. He can't afford full male like the rich, but he has enough to cover his chest, and it hisses into place. And then Athelstan picks up the round shield with the black raven emblem that he's painted himself on it, and adjusts the straps slightly to get it comfortable. Then puts it onto his back, and with his attaching his axe to his belt, he picks up his spear and pulls on his helmet and nods.
Alden would go to stand by his brother and say, I would give anything to cut his lying head from his body, but I know that you will bring honor back to our family, brother. And he just kind of claps his hand on your shoulder and with a nod, kind of acknowledging, the weight and the responsibility that is upon you.
Nothing is certain, brother. Were it be full-eyed. If I should fall in Athelstan too, and all is lost, do not follow us to Valhall. Run for your life. Take this, and he like holds the father's sword in his hand, that you can come back and bring revenge. If we all die, we'll all be ghosts with father. You have to swear to live.
Alden takes a deep breath. I swear.
Yeah, and just Yade gives one like nod at that, and then reaches down with like a gnarled hand and grabs his nasal helm and like plops it over his head. He gives like a through his teeth to the thralls that open like the door beyond, and they'll begin striding out of it.
Yeah, and as the doors open, the servants of your house bid you farewell. As you cross from your halls into the open sunlight.
Yadrin wants to walk in such a way with his like chest puffed out and like trying to catch the glint of the sun on his mail. He wants people to look in and wants them to go, oh, what's going on? Oh, wow. Is it the Dead Lord's son? Why has he got his war gear on? And that's what he's trying to do. He's not going to like go out of his way to like make a commotion or something like that, but he's trying to be seen. He wants to like people to like, he wants to get a momentum of curiosity behind them. So I'm not sure if you would require like a performance roll or something, Jeff. But I'm happy to roll. But that's what I want to attempt to do anyway.
Yeah, go ahead and do either performance or intimidation, whichever you'd prefer.
Okay. Well, I'll do intimidation for sure, even though it's equally as shitty. Yep, 8.
Yeah, and as you go through the town, like you can definitely feel the eyes kind of burning onto you. But perhaps to, if not shock, at least disappointment, it seems mostly kind of like the burning eyes of like somebody watching somebody they believe to be a criminal, like walking away from a store that they might have robbed. Like it's more the gaze of wary townspeople than it is like the eyes of somebody watching justice attempted to be dispensed. You would feel a fear that perhaps your cowardly uncle has garnered more influence with these townspeople than you may have thought.
He thinks back to his father's words. The greater the odds, the more keenly the gods listen. Though it's like scant compensation for him, as he'd hoped people to like fall in and like to have this kind of trail of people when he sees people actually averting his gaze or looking away. Kind of the realization comes too late. It's obvious to him, or he thinks it's obvious to him. His father's obviously scared or bribed these people, or they will not risk his ire. His power is entrenched here, so it needs to be broken now.
And as the three of you continue to walk through town, as you come from the south side of the town, your uncle being on the north side, just a little bit outside of the town proper, you would see a rider on a horse surrounded by two men walking and approaching towards you. The man on the horse's deadlocked eyes with you, Eadmar. You would immediately recognize this person. This is Elric Hammett, Kenric's son, your cousin. He too is dressed in battle gear. And as he rides up, he holds up his hands as if to signal that he's not intending to fight, at least yet. He looks over to the three of you, stops his horse. The two men on either side of his horse stop as well. They've carrying spears in their hands, and he yells out to you. Sorry, friends. Father's not accepting visitors right now. I suggest if you know what's good for you, you turn around, head back home.
Lucky then we do not come to visit our beloved uncle, he says acidically. You were not at our father's funeral, your own uncle, your own blood.
Yes, it seems father has locked himself away. He's terribly grief-stricken. He could not bring himself from his bed.
Yadmar spits halfway through his lies, like onto the ground in front of the men. He'll grab his crotch to like ward off the evil eye. And you're a spavined weasel. You reek of goat piss. And if you do not stand aside, I'll kill you too.
Elric jumps off of the horse, sliding down onto the ground with just like the most arrogant, smug grin that you've seen. He says, huh, you don't really think that I'm scared of you, do you?
No, you've always been stupid, cousin.
Almost as stupid as you. You think you've come for a grand battle, for some great justice as you see it. You've come to the wrong place and you've come with the wrong men.
This is the only place that I'll find justice, and he'll point over his cousin's shoulder to his uncle's hall. This is the only place in the whole, in all of Midgard that I can get justice.
Alden would begin to step forward past his brother and says, I've heard enough of this poison. Let us cut this fool's smile off of his body, and would just have his axe in hand.
And the two men on either side of Elric both ready their spears as you say this and as you advance. But Elric doesn't move. He doesn't flinch. In fact, he smiles. Just a big, toothy grin. Looks over back to Yadmar. The little one is feisty, I'll give you that. Be a shame if they were to meet a tragic end, the whole family down in one swoop.
Do you know much of tragic ends? Do you know much of killing people when they are weak?
He nods down to the sword at his side that he carries as well. I know nothing of treachery. You come against one of the greatest warriors in this region. If you dare to make this a battle, it's a battle that you will not win. Look, take your little brother. Turn back to your halls. Be ashamed to see more deaths in the family. I'm not sure that I could stand the grief. He smugly grins.
Elric, you have quite a reputation, but this time you face warriors who are awake. Says Athelstan.
At that, sensing
Right.
Athelstan's intent, Yadmar's going to grab the oxbone horn of Mjolnir around his throat and like clutch it and make it visible to the two men who flank our cousin, and trying to aid him and make them feel uncomfortable about like the ungodly murders that they are associated with.
And as you do so, one of them, you can sense kind of a flinch. One of these two men flanking him is kind of unnerved at the mention of cowardly murder. But they both kind of remain spears held in Alden's direction, being the one who's approached the closest.
The one who flinched, I look to see if there are any sort of signs of fresh blood on his sleeves, or sort of stains of blood on his sleeves or his shirt. When I say fresh blood, from the last day or two.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a perception, if you'd like, or investigation.
Yeah. So it's so I have no idea.
Yeah, and you would recognize this man as one of the butchers of the town. So his clothes are stained, but there's so much mixed blood of animals. Who knows what, that it's hard to tell head from tail as far as what would be what's fresh and what's old and what's human and what's pig.
Yeah.
And Elric just looks over to the three of you one last time, pulling his sword slightly out of the scabbard that's at his waist. I'll give you one last warning. This doesn't have to happen.
Hold that sword tightly, Elric. And then he'll draw his own and lunge for his throat.
Yeah. And at that, Elric will do the same, and we'll roll initiative. With 22, Yadmar, you're up first. Your fury has lent you a quick strike.
I'm going to go a two-handed chop for the throat.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. And so I like raise it up and he just steps back only an inch, like lifting his chin up. The blade like sings past his Adam's apple. And like, you know, when you swing really hard, but you like don't connect, how it almost kind of like, it gives you that weird feeling in your elbow, like it strains you out. And I nearly like topple forward and lose hold of the blade, spilling it from my grasp. Like all nerves like going off like fireworks in my head. And I just like move too quickly for myself and uncoordinatedly like botch the slash at his neck, and I can like hear his like little now, and so it makes me go like bright red and foolish, which means certain death. So yeah, I like fail miserably.
And Elric laughs in your face as the blade sings under his chin. Just not used to swinging that, are you? And then, out of nowhere, Yadmar, you feel a sting in your calf as an arrow punctures it from the side. As your attention is brought over, you see someone who had come out from hiding, one of the other sons of Kinric, Lufian, the snake, bow in hand, as blood trails down the side of your leg for 6 piercing damage.
Ooh. Yeah, he'll grit his teeth and try and like suppress like a howl of pain at that. He doesn't. I think he maybe sees this peripherally. He won't break his eyes away from the snake Elric. There's so many snakes. He won't break his gaze from Elric though. Like he doesn't want to turn from where like the shot came from. Though I think he realizes that it's Luthien because he's so skilled with the bow. and he can feel as he tries to stand, like his muscles straining against where the arrow is like punctured through the back of his leg, and it kind of gives him like this weird hobble. Now he knows he must end this fight quickly, or he'll fall unconscious from blood loss. He's seen many men fight themselves to death in a state such as this, so his heart begins to hammer like it's driven by Thor in his chest.
Awesome. Yeah, and as Elric laughs again and raises his sword up to strike at you. And what's your armor class? The arrow was
16,
high
my lord.
enough that it didn't matter, but 16. So Elric goes to swing at you, bringing the sword down overhead in one hand, but you manage to bring your shield up in time to throw off his or sorry, you don't have a shield with you right now.
No, I don't have
so-
I don't have a shield. Like I've got one on my back, but I haven't got it on. I'm wielding my sword with two hands at the moment.
Yeah, so he goes to bring his sword down one hand, but you're able to parry the blow with your sword, kind of regaining a little bit of the footing that you had lost with the first slash.
I'll use my riposte. When I get missed by an attack, I can use my reaction to make one back.
Awesome.
I get to add superiority dice to the extra damage if I actually don't roll a natural one this time.
Yeah, do it.
14 to hit.
Yeah, so unfortunately that's still not enough. As you go to return strike, he in fact does have his shield up and ready, and he deflects the blow off of the side of it. You can feel the ringing of the blade as it kind of cuts off of the iron edge. And then this butcher with the spear approaches towards you, Alden, thrusting at you. Ooh, that is it's a 9, which I don't think is going to do it. Yeah, you can tell he's clearly not the trained warrior that the sons of Kenrick are. He's essentially just a townsperson with a spear. He with an unwieldy thrust tries to poke at you with it, but you easily deflect it away. And that will bring us to you, Alden.
Yeah, Alden would return in kind, taking a swing at the butcher. And in kind also misses with a 3. So, yeah.
Yeah, as he kind of had thrust meekly with his spear, he jumped back further, fearing your strike, and he gets too far away from you as you swing. You're not able to make contact. Aethelstan.
There's a grinding of enamel on metal as Athelstan starts biting down on the rim of his shield and spitting out different splinters, blood down his chin and into his beard, as pink foam appears beside his mouth as he maneuvers into a position shoulder to shoulder with I'm guessing that Eadmer is in the center, and center. So I'll take a position shoulder to shoulder with Eadmer, and if Alfred, he'll swing out at Alfred half-hand.
Absolutely, go ahead.
And but Athelstan's sort of wildness and strength is distracting Elric a little bit, and anyone who's within 5 feet. So Athelstan tries to get within 5 foot of Elric and Alfred before he lays his attack. And if he manages to get into position, then his allies will have advantage on their attacks, whilst Eadma's sort of spitting blood at his opponents. But my attack hits.
Hell yeah.
An armor class of 23 versus Alfred Halfhand.
Absolutely, that'll hit.
The fates don't like you, Alfred. He spits at him, stabbing at him with his spear over the rim of his shield for 7 points of damage.
Absolutely, it cuts true. And again, Alfred, similarly to Kenneth the Butcher, is hardly more than a townsperson. And while he does not fall from this wound, you can see him wince greatly as the blood begins to run. And he's not looking like he's in great condition. But despite that, he tries to ready himself against this fiendish, blood-spitting warrior who's now attacked him. But is only going to get an 11 to hit, which I do not think is going to do it.
No, I raise the Raven Shield and take it on the chewed rim.
Yeah, his spear kind of bounces off the edge of the rim. You're able to knock his spear aside as he winces in pain from the wound, clearly kind of off balance from the damage he's taken, and begins to kind of shirk away from you, not falling into a run, but clearly is frightened by your display. And that will take us up to Yadmar. You've been bolstered by Athelstan's berserker rage that he's displayed. And you'll have advantage on either Edric or Alfred if you choose to attack them.
Where's the nearest tree to us? Like big tree. Tree as wide as a man and much taller. Is there one within 60 feet?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll say there's probably one closer than that.
Okay, I'm going to grab Elric by the scruff of his neck. Will I have advantage on this? Like I'm trying to grapple him?
Yes,
or does it have
I'll
to
say that
specifically
you
be an
will.
attack? Okay, cool. Like maybe like while he's like trying to compensate or defend himself against Athelstan's onslaught, I like reach in over the rim and like grab him by like the collar of his shirt. I'm going to move through and mount up onto the horse that he slipped off of. And I'm going to provoke an opportunity of attack from Halfhand and the Butcher. And I'm going to spur the horse as fast as I can towards that tree, grabbing Elric, and I'm going to like smash his face into the tree as I ride past pell-mell on his own horse.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, let's go ahead and make a grapple then.
Okay. So my athletic, I got a 19 and an 18. So the 9 will be a 26 athletics check for the guy.
Whew. Yeah, and he didn't roll too shabby either, but he will not get a 26. So yes, you absolutely are able to grab him.
Okay, cool.
Leap up onto the horse, and yes, as you say, Kenneth and Alfred both try to meekly stab at you from the ground as you do so. All right, and it's going to be a miss, but the
Crit?
Kenneth will crit.
Yeah, I could smell it.
As he strikes his fear disintegrating into a moment of bravery. He charges at you with his spear as you go to mount up on the horse, and it sinks true.
Brutal. Before he does that, I'm just going to use my second riposte on the first guy who missed me. Try and cut down the middle of his face. I'm aiming for like in between his eyes. It's going to be 17 on the die. So plus fighter equals a hit. So he'll take 9 slashing damage. Do you want what sort of crit injuries are you doing? Do I need to roll to determine what kind of crit I receive?
I'm using the chart that I had you send me.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
a
if you want to
D10.
give me a D10, and yeah, and in the meantime, you'll actually kill Alfred with that attack.
Beauty. Yeah, I'll, like cut him in between his eyes, like when you put an axe into a stump, like that kind of thunk. And I like have to like, lucky I've got the momentum of the horse. I like drag the blade out, and there's this jarring kind of because it like rips free of the bone, and he like spills like cleft faced and bubbling down to the ground. And then the pain surges through me. Yeah, I got a 1 on my D10.
All right, give me a D20 then.
I do 1, 2, 5.
Ooh. So the spear actually stabs into the kind of back side of your head. Actually cracks your skull. You can feel blood begin to rush from the wound. You'll take brain damage. Your intelligence is permanently down by 2.
Oh no. Okay, so I think this is me out because I already have a neg 1. So that puts me on intelligence 7. Oh no, so I still can actually function. Just. I'm pretty sure if your intelligence goes to 6, like you're as dumb as a rat. So you're 2 brain damage to be a hero. So I'm on the edge. I'm as dumb as you can get and still be an adventurer. I think he'd like, the world starts spinning. Maybe like one of his eyes goes a little cross-eyed. And then maybe you guys fighting down below him, he can't see obviously like the back of his head, but you guys can, like this nasty wound and like hot dark blood spilling out of it, and he's swaying in the saddle. But this is all happening like very quick, so I don't think he'd really have time to like stop and go and like reach up for his head. He's already like riding off with this guy kind of grabbed half in like a dream, like rage-driven stupor. And what was the damage? That's the most important thing, my lord.
That is going to be for 6 damage.
Okay, 12. Not bloodied yet. Okay, so now I'm going to like ride off, use the full movement of the horse, and smash his head into the tree, while I'm leaving a massive trail of cerebral blood behind me.
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead and give me an attack roll with advantage because he's grappled and dangling from the horse.
When a fleshy snake hits an immovable object, it's going to be 16 on the greater die, so 22.
That'll absolutely hit.
Sorry, 21.
Yes, that'll.
Not really
that'll
sure what a
definitely hit.
damage of a tree to a head at 60 feet in 6 seconds goes. But I do want to do the disarming attack with it. Actually, no, I can't because I have to actually take an action. So I think like economy-wise, what I'm doing is I'll have to like do a free to like smash his or drop him into the tree as I rush past it. So I can't actually apply anything. So whatever you reckon the damage would be, that's it.
I think that would be pretty dang good. Give me a D10 plus strength.
Nice. So an 8, so plus the strength is 3, so that's 11. I also have the dueling fighting feature. Like if I do something one-handed, I get to add 2 damage on. So it won't apply to this, but it should have applied to the guy that I hit before, but he fell anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. So sorry, that was 11 total damage then?
Yep.
Yeah, and so you just go ahead and take a point of inspiration too for that. That was freaking rad. As you just Elric's face just smashes, the sound of his helmet and shield against bark and wood just thunks. He lets out a howl of anger and pain. As I imagine he's dropped from your grasp as you slam him into the tree, the horse continuing on a bit off the side with you on it.
Mm-hmm.
He lets out a howl and tries to get back to his feet.
At this stage, I'm going to second wind for my bonus action as I like wheel the horse around to like, I guess like maybe 10, 15 feet past him from like the momentum of the horse. I finally like woo, 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 and then turn it around to see him like gingerly trying to rise. And maybe that's when I like start to realize that all around the edges of my vision, there's stars and like my mouth is wet and hot and there's just saliva like spilling out of it down into my beard and like the smell of like forged iron up through my nostrils. I'll make a prayer to Donar, and I got a 10 on the D10, so that's handy. Back to full points, but still brain damaged. And that's it for me.
Awesome. As you steel yourself, shrugging off the wounds, the damage is still apparent, but it unphases you right now. And Alden, you suddenly feel a pierce above your arm, just under your shoulder. As you're going to take 1 piercing damage, but I will also need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
That's 15.
So you feel this pierce go into your arm as you ready yourself for another swing. And while the pierce itself doesn't seem to do that much, you suddenly feel your arm grow hot with pain. And you start to feel hazy as Luffy and the snake has fired a dart into your arm laced with poison. You feel your head start to spin. And until you are treated, you will have the poisoned condition. Elric rises to his feet, shaking off the injury from this blunt force trauma. And he actually just charges straight for you, Yadmar, forgetting the other brothers and warriors that he's brought. He charges forward at you, raising his sword up again with a yell. He's going to try to strike up at you and cut you off of this horse that you're on. All right, that's going to be an 18.
Oh, yeah. That hits.
Ugh, God, that's going to be 9 damage.
I was tossing up before. Should I do my second wind? It is pretty early. Now I'm so glad I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a 6 on the D8. He charges at you on the horse, just thrusting upwards with the sword. You feel it just cut underneath part of the mail armor that you wear. You can feel the blood run hot down your side as he attempts to thrust you off of this horse. And then he's going to bring his shield up and try to slam it at you. I'll need you to make an opposed athletics.
Okay. Oh,
Against
damn
a
it.
15.
Waste of it. Yeah, I got a crit. What a waste. That would have been good last turn. So that's going to be a 26, I think. Yeah, more than enough. 25.
Yeah, so he goes to try to bring his shield up at you to slam you off of the horse, hoping to knock you down onto the ground. But from your vantage point and with your renewed strength and resolve, you're able to fend off his blow. And he is not able to unseat you from the horse. And Kenneth, from where he stands, the butcher will take another feeble stab at Alden with his spear. This time that is a 15 to hit. Does that beat your armor class, Alden?
A 15, yes.
All right, it's only going to be for 3 piercing damage, though. As kind of worries himself, keep this distance from you. He seems scared to fight, but does so anyways. He thrusts at you. He's able to kind of cut in to your side, but not enough to cause any serious harm. And that will bring us back to Alden.
So, Alden become so angry at missing for the first time against this you know, he's nothing. He's a butcher. He should be able to overcome him easily. And so he becomes enraged, swings again with extra vigor. Yes. So that's a 24.
It'll absolutely hit.
Yeah. And so he brings his war axe down on the butcher, doing 9 points of damage.
Ouch. Yeah, it's gonna bloody him in one hit. So go ahead and give me a D10 roll for that.
Ten.
Oh Jesus. Okay. Give me another D10.
Oh, this is the oh shit
3.
table.
3.
3, yeah.
So as the axe comes down, it cuts straight through his collarbone. You feel the crunch of bone as the axe just slices deep into his shoulder, down into his chest. He immediately falls to the ground, just blood pouring in a puddle onto the ground as he's bleeding out. He will die from that wound if nobody attends to him.
Yeah, and you can see that Alden kind of take a steps back, maybe even for a moment just leaving his axe in the butcher's chest. And just for a moment, his face goes white. Because Alden has barely reached into adulthood. And this would be his first human kill. And I think he would just be dazed just for a moment before kind of shaking his head and taking his axe and turning.
Awesome. And with that, both Alfred and Kenneth, the two poor souls brought along with Elric, are both dead. Elric is engaged over with Yadmar on the horse, and Luthien the snake hides off in the corner. But those are the only two foes that remain Athelstan.
And as Alden takes his step back, Athelstan's hand claps him on his shoulder. A good kill, brother. Aid Mar in his hunting, and I will try and find this snake, I say, running off in the direction that I saw Luthien. Is he in sight? Can I get there?
Yes, you would be able to approach him. He has made himself visible after attacking, and he is within your range.
Is he within 30 feet to close down? Okay, I run him down and just barge into him, trying to knock him off his feet. Into him. Yeah, an opposed athletics roll. Oh, but he can see it coming. He's got to beat a 5 on his athletics.
And he does.
Yep.
You expect the snake, like most men, to meet you head on and try to force you away. But the snake is fast. He's not the muscled warrior that his brother is. He's a small and quick little fiend. And as you charge him, he ducks and rolls to the side as you charge past him. slipping away from your grasp.
So he gets out of the way of my shield, but my spear goes after him. 17?
That will hit.
As he dodges aside. So yes, I stab at him desperately, trying to catch him. And my spear 10.
Whew.
I stab down through his foot as he jumps aside. You are nimble. Let's see what we can do about stopping that.
And he yelps in pain as the spear cuts through his leg kind of dipping down to the ground as he just takes this blow. You can see on his face he's not used to withstanding this kind of pain. As he looks up to you, kind of almost a mixture of fear and hatred in his eyes. And with that will take us, unless there's anything else from you, Athelstan, that'll take us back up to Yadmar.
No, that's all I can do.
I'm going to ride down Elric. I'm going to use the horse to attack him. Literally right over the top of him.
Oh man, brutal.
Yeah, I really want to give this guy pain and not an easy, quick death. So here goes nothing. It's less chance to hit, but it's more damage if I do hit. So here goes. Yep, that's 16 on the die, plus 4 be 20 to hit for the horse.
Oh yeah, it's gonna do it.
Thunders over the top of him. Even when it tries to veer at the last instant, I'll haul heavily and painfully on the reins to make sure that it collides with him. And I feel the momentary jolt as he hits the breast of the horse, and then just that weird as he goes under it, and there's the crunch of bones. It's going to be 13 bludgeoning damage.
Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah, that's gonna well past bloody him. As the hooves just thunder over his body, just sending him to the ground and then trampling him.
At that, I'm going to stop the horse and dismount, do the whole, when you're walking slowly towards the wounded guy in the movies, and do that.
Yeah, as you stride slowly towards him, you can see him trying to push himself up off of the ground, kind of one arm giving out under him. As he does so, he's trying to find his footing again. He looks up and meets your gaze with fear on his face.
Have no need for fear, cousin. I'll let you rise from your deathbed before I kill you. And he'll stand there 2 feet away from him with his sword dripping, pointing down. He won't strike him until he stands up again.
And he looks up at you. The once smug grin is turned into a fearful, hateful frown.
And that's all I can do.
Awesome. Luffy and the snake, as he's wounded from your spear strike, Ethelstan, he feints as if to pull out his sayax and strike you with it. But at the last moment, he ducks away, disengaging from you.
Coward!
And begins to sprint away. He's going to use a cunning action to dash and his movement to run 60 feet from you as he disengages, sprinting back towards his uncle's halls, or his father's halls, your uncle.
Mm-hmm. Coward!
Yeah. And the shouts of coward fall on deaf ears. He continues to run. shamefully away. Blood
You do not
continues to trickle
face-
down his leg.
You dare not face an awake man, shouts Athelstan after him.
While this is happening, Elric has finally managed to pull himself up off from the ground, still one leg down in a kneel, uses the sword to pry himself to his feet weakly. But unlike his brother, will not turn away. He continues towards you, Yadmar. He brings up his sword feebly, still attempting to attack you. When even with the disadvantage I gave him from all that, it's still going to reach an 18.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's at this time, if you didn't already know, just from being cousins, his words of him being one of the greater warriors in the land, you can see the truth in that statement as he stands, despite being trampled and mauled, continues to fight with a stalwart fury. And it's actually going to cut for 7 damage.
Ooh.
He
16
charges towards you
becomes
with a surprising speed for someone as wounded as he is. He manages to cut past you and cut into you with his blade. Lets out a fierce growl just right in your face as his face is mere inches from yours upon his slash.
Yeah, I'm bloodied from that. Not expecting the strike. Now I'm clutching at this brutal wound in my stomach, and I think because he's slowed down now, the throbbing in the back of his head is becoming apparent.
Yeah, and Elric just continues to just deadlock his gaze with yours, his eyes just peering straight in, with just complete hatred mixed with a fierce survival necessity as the both of you are so brutally injured. But this will give way to Alden. Luffy and the snake has charged off with an extreme speed away from the battle. He's 60 feet away from the battle.
Alden, take
And,
the beast. He'll point to the horse behind me. Do not let him get
Yeah.
away.
Alden would quickly nod and start running at the horse in order to jump on and pursue the snake.
Absolutely, and with the
Um,
horse's speed, you would be able to approach close enough to attack.
Yeah, I would. His war axe would be down low beside him, and he would go to swing up.
Yeah. Go ahead and do so
Get-
with advantage as you're mounted.
Well, then that would just be a normal roll because I'm poisoned. So that's 24. No, 23.
That'll do it.
Awesome. So that is 13 damage.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, that will actually, with Aethelstan's brutal spear stab that he gave him earlier, 13 damage is going to be enough to kill the snake.
Yeah, I can just imagine he has his axe kind of down, and as he swings it up, it just connects with the snake's back. And maybe he even, with his momentum, kind of lifts the snake up a little bit just to maybe just kind of tilts him back and kind of drags him back as he removes the axe, and the horse continues to charge past, and Alden then would circle around back towards everyone else.
And as the snake's body falls limp, left now in the dirt, as Alden turns the horse back away, Ethelstan, see that the only remaining foe that you can see is Elric, who's met face to face with Yadmar.
Yes, so Athelstan approaching. Athelstan will, as he approaches, he'll just he'll reach down and as he passes the dying butcher, he hefts his axe at his neck a couple of times until he's got his head in his hands, hanging with, holding his the butcher's head by his by the beard. He starts running up and just rolls the head at the feet of Elric, trying to sort of just distract him and put him off. But that's the only thing. He'll try and get close to the battle, but he's not going to. His readied action will be to thrust Elric back into the battle if he tries to run away. He's not going to deny Yadmar his kill if he manages to get it.
Awesome. Yeah, and as the head lands at Elric's feet, you can't help but notice as his attention is drawn down towards it, and of letting out a short breath of surprise at the gory display. The blood is running onto the ground from this now severed head of the butcher that he had brought with him. And that will give way to Yadmar. You can go ahead and from Ethelstan's actions, this distraction will grant you advantage.
Perfect. I'm going to reach down and pull the snake's arrow out of my calf, and then I'm going to attack Elric at the neck. I'm going to stab in with the sword and the arrow, and try and make a ruin of where his head is connected to his body. So I'm going to attack twice, once for my action, once for my bonus action. The first will be 22 to hit. The second will be 9. So no, that's a miss. But the first one will be +5, 8 slashing damage to the neck.
Awesome. And yeah, from all the wounds that you've given Elric, that will actually be enough to slay him.
Excellent. I'll use my interact object and pick him up by the hair, and I'll walk towards Alden. I assume we're out of combat now? They're all slain?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to walk up to Alden, and I'm going to cut Luthien's head off as well and tie them by their braids onto the onto the saddle. And even though I'm all puffy faced and bloodied, and all the collar of my shirt's now soaked with dark hot blood, I'll give a crack tooth smile despite the exhaustion and pain that's creeping in, and say, "Let's go visit our uncle." And he doesn't say a congratulations or any acknowledgement to Alden about his first kill, though this smile that's contrasting with his ruined demeanor, it beams pride that his younger brother is slain these treacherous curs.
And Alden, though, if not a sickly green color, would kind of smile back at his brother before keeling over and losing any food that he had in his stomach.
A waste of Gudrun's bread, he'll say, smiling, but not intending it for it to be a barbed jape at his younger brother's expense. He'll smile, and as he says that to Athelstan as he approaches, both of them have been in the same situation. They've both shit their pants before battle, and they've both vomited their guts up after killing someone and hearing their death screams. And so it's kind of it's definitely not an admonishment or a negative yape, more out of solidarity. He makes these kind of fraternal barbs. When you've finished, brother, he'll say, but with kindness in it. I can imagine there's this like, and he'll like get back up into the saddle with the heads like tied to the side of it, and ride off to the north and hold fast.
Yeah,
Wait, there is one more, says Athelstan, cutting off the head of Alfric. Alfric one hand, or half hand.
Actually, does Elric have a cloak, considering he's like noble born and now the heir to the heir?
Yes, he absolutely would have
Yeah, I'll
a cloak.
I'll take the wimple and brooch as loot, knowing that's probably worth something. But I'll take the cloak and I'll put the 4 heads into the cloak, tie it up like a hobo sack, and then tie that onto the saddle of the horse.
Oh man, brutal.
Use that to give myself advantage on inspiration somewhere down the track. On intimidation, I mean.
Absolutely. As the three of you have prepared this grim, welcoming gift for your treacherous uncle, you begin to approach closer and closer towards his halls, ready to exact vengeance. And that is where we'll go ahead and take a super quick break here. Just a quick 5-minute break.
I thought you were going to do a Collins and say, "Oh, that's where we're going to end this session." Like, what?
Oh, no. Quick 5-minute break. I got to go to the bathroom and grab a drink. So just be back soon. Alrighty, looks like we have everyone back here. We'll go ahead and just get right back into it. The smug and arrogant Elric and his brother, Luffy and the Snake, lie dead, their heads now kept in the cloak that Elric wore, is carried with you on the saddlebags of this horse. Within minutes, you've approached the halls of your uncle's home. The door lies closed at the moment. As the three of you approach,
Are there guards about or people? Like
How many
outside of it?
sons does Cynric have? Does our uncle have?
so
Cynric?
Kenrick has 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter. You would know that Elric is the eldest, or was the eldest, one of the, as was said earlier, the heir to the heir. Luthien was the second eldest, and he has a daughter, Golda, and a youngest son, Wolfgar. As you approach, there's 1 guard stationed at the door. He does not, by the looks of it, look like one of the warriors. As before, he seems more like an armed civilian, kind of lazily watching the front of the halls from just off to the side. He makes no effort to hide himself. And he almost doesn't even seem as if he's watching the road. He seems just kind of carelessly lost in thought.
If he doesn't make any move to stop me, I'll ride right up to the door of the hall. And I'll dismount and try and open the door.
Open the
Open
doors
the-
for your better thrall. I shout. I call down to Athelstan. But actually, I wouldn't be riding. I command.
And this guard will look upon the 3 of you and see the blood covering your weapons and your gear. Fear grips his eyes. His jaw drops. And he will actually obey Athelstan. As he begins to press the halls of the doors of the hall open before the 3 of you.
Mourn the fall of your lord. Mourn the passing of your ring giver. I say, run back to your mother and find a new lord. For vengeance and justice and honor has come. And the weird shall be sated today.
And the moment that the door finishes opening, that he opens before you, he drops his spear and shield to the ground and flees the hall. And as the doors now lie open, you would hear a voice of a younger man, hardly even a man, more of a boy, call out, "Did you get him, brother?" And he turns around and sees the 3 of you. You guys would see that this is Wolfgang, Kenric's youngest son. Barely even the same age as Alden, maybe even younger. He looks up in shock at Yadmar.
I'll grab him by the scruff of his hair and cut his head off too.
Jesus, yeah, he's in no place to resist. He's just a boy, and you can just handle that narratively. You do so.
I'll take his head and put it in the cloak, and like step over the threshold. If I can't see light in here, that'll be my next priority. Trying to get a torch or like move towards where there is light, or like bust open a shutter if there's no fire or the like to let light in. That guard ran off too easily for my liking, and if I was my uncle, I'd sacrifice a hall burning just to get rid of his enemies, his own family, so I'm wary.
Yeah, you can see on the large table set in the center of the hall where Wolfgang had been sitting and wait for his brothers to return. They have returned to him, though not in the manner he was hoping for. Did have a burning lamp on the table, kind of a torch set in.
Then
But
I'll
that's
take
the only
it.
light source that's in here. Is just that one burning torch.
I'll take that and look for other like torches or like safe places to make fire to bring light into the hall.
And you could absolutely open up some of the
Cool.
light some of the torches that are on the walls, light the fire at the main hearth, and kind of get a good light going.
How long is this hall? Can we see the end of it? Like, is there anyone else in here, or are there doors connecting it to anywhere else?
The main hall itself is empty, but you can see that there are other rooms within this hall. There's two doors on either side of the back of this hall that seem to lead into other areas.
I'm going to roll an insight check. Should there normally be more people about at this time of day? Like, would the Lord be in attendance here? Would there be other, like, is this highly unusual?
You don't even need to roll. It's plain to see that this is clearly much more empty than it should be. The fact that the only people that you've seen here so far are one guard who fled and one son left in the hall is clearly unusual, especially left in what was essentially near darkness.
I'll try and
There's
swallow
no checks
this
to be
dry.
made.
The fear is galling now, and so I would like rush out the door.
Yep, Athelstan is not comfortable here either. You rush out the door that we came in by?
Yeah, that's right. I won't go further in. I should have said that actually. Yeah.
Yep.
I should clarify. Run back out to where we left the horse, where that dude fled from Athelstan. And I'm going to do a perception check to look around to see if I can like see anyone like trying to hide or like bowmen waiting or more snakes for a 20 perception all up.
As you scan, you do see a shape hiding, though not one that you'd expect. It's not a soldier or bowman waiting to fire. A young girl, blonde of hair, hiding behind a tree. She's looking at the three of you, fear on her face. As you look over and make eye contact with her, she tries to move behind the tree, but clearly she's been spotted.
I'll bark at her to hold and then come forward and ask her, "Where is your lord?"
This isn't Goldeth, is it?
It is. As she approaches out from your call, Yadmar, You would see that this is in fact the daughter of Kinrick, Golda. And as she steps out from behind the tree, you can see her hands shaking in fear. She tries to stutter out an answer, but nothing comes for a moment until finally he says, "Father said he had business to attend to with the Lord. He had to go speak with grandfather."
At that, you guys would see my shoulders like relax, or I just go slightly relieved. My worst fear was that she would say he rode south to our Holdstead and did this to to our unprotected family. And so he like finally swallows and go, Alden, grab her, bring her with us. And then he'll turn turn to our mount up on the horse and ride towards grandfather's.
Eldon, I don't think would have followed out right away when Idmar left, but upon hearing his brother's command, would rush out of the house and grab the girl like roughly by the back of her and just kind of push her along.
And as you grab and push her, you can see just a desperate fear washing over her. And she looks up to you. "Where are my brothers?"
They have paid for the sins that they have committed against Woden and all the rest. Let us pray that seeped into your blood as well. And he would just head, pushing her almost robotically without any care if she stumbles or falters, trying to have her keep up with everyone else.
Yeah, and with that reply and the forced movement, she'll fall silent again. You can still see the fear on her as you push her along. And as you approach towards your grandfather, the lord of this area's house, you see what you would expected to see when you had gone towards your uncle's halls. As you approach, you can see multiple guards stationed around the hall. Spears and axes sit at their backs and shields at their sides.
Alden would say, here is the welcome I was expecting.
Let us not disappoint them then. And he'll like nudge the horse forward, and he wants to ride proudly before these men, try and hide the obvious fear he has.
And as you ride up, the guard nearest to the door kind of steps in front of it and in front of you. He just looks up with a proud smirk on his face. "Come to bid good tidings to the new lord, huh?"
You touch it with a needle. Open the door that I may do so.
He nods again with a grin on his face, opens the doors. As the doors open, the halls open up, and you can see seated at the back of the table, at the head of it, in the Lord's chair, your uncle, Kenrick, sits there. A host of his warriors sat around the table. They all turn and look up at you as you enter.
Where's our grandfather? Where is the Lord? If I can't see him, I'll verbalize that.
You do not see him.
Well, then I'll ask Kenrick, where is Selwyn? Where is our grandfather and your Lord Father? Whose hall we sit and stand?
He stands up from the table across from you. And as he does so, the warrior sat at his right stands up as well, and they both face you. And with a sneer, Kenrick just... It seems my poor father has finally succumbed to his illnesses. I am the lord of this place now in his stead.
Our family bleeds. But there is one still who needs dying.
Quietly
And
behind the others, Athelstan has reached the door, and at the doorkeep who's been grinning at them, he just turns and says, "You grin like a skull. See what yours looks like in a minute." But then turns back to the conversation between Yedmar and the Lord.
And with that, Kenrick just sneers at you. He looks to his right with this warrior that's stood up alongside him. And he nods to a couple of the others sat around the table. And they rise as well.
Sensing it going south, Yadmar will say, like, bawl it out. He's saying it to his uncle, whose eyes his gaze is like locked on, but he's saying it for everyone else within and possibly without to hear as well. To say, I name you kinslayer, name you murderer, name you traitor to this family, and no lord, do not recognize the laws of your hall. I challenge you, a duel to the death. Uncle, he spits the word as if it's poison, for the crimes that you committed.
The sneer on his face turns into a grimace. And you can see all of the warriors sat at the table look up to him in anticipation.
Unless, of course, you would have one of your men die for you, and then another, and then another.
He waits for a moment, kind of taking in the atmosphere. It's clear everyone at his table is looking up to him, expecting him to accept this challenge. And it's as if the weight of the pressure gave way more than any sort of honor has. He looks to this warrior sat next to him and just gives him a firm nod. Bring me my blade. I'll look forward to cutting down this fool. And this man goes off further into the hall, bringing back a sword. With him, he holds out the scabbard towards the now Lord Kinrick, who slowly draws it from its scabbard. He locks eyes with you, Yadmar. Come then, boy. You'll bleed just like your father did.
You admit it. In your own slain father's hall, you admit it. And he looks to all the other men.
It was a
You
confession.
follow him. Now you will watch him die. Tyr has heard your words. And then I'll turn and lean in close to Alden and say, if I fall, run.
Alden would give a slight nod, hold out his hand for warriors and brothers to brace, and he would say a blessing that is common in this area, something along the lines of something like, may the blood run quickly from your enemies by your sword hand, and may Tyr look fondly upon this fight in your favor. Something poetic like that has been rehearsed and he has heard many times from other warriors who have come to their father before going out to war.
Yadmar will place the blade from his belt, our father's blade, into your hands. He'll take up the looted blade of Elric. And he'll turn and stride into like the circle of men, or into the where the uncle stands with his drawn blade. And I'll throw down the cloak of bloody heads of all of his sons and attack him.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and roll initiative. All right, with a 19, and this being just a duel, you will beat out Kenrix. He only got a 6 on initiative. He was taken aback by the sudden appearance of his son's heads and his son's blade in your hand, and you have the opportunity to strike. You can do so with advantage from the display.
I'm going to do a disarming strike. My intent is to knock the weapon from his hand and kill him so that he goes to hell and not Valhalla.
Awesome.
I'll do this two-handed. So that's going to be 21 to hit. He has to make a DC 13 strength save.
All right, he got a 14 on the die.
So he retains grip on his sword. He'll still take 13 slashing damage.
Jesus Christ.
And then I'm going to action surge and attack him with Elric's longsword in one hand for a crit.
Whew. All right, give me a D10.
Okay, the D10 for the crit is a 7, and the damage for that is a D8. That's 11 slashing damage. Oh, sorry, it's a crit. So it's actually another 2 on top of that, so 13 slashing damage.
All right, yeah. With that, he's bloodied, and with a 7, let me see here. All right, so where do you strike him with this crit?
I said I was just trying to disarm him, so I imagine like somewhere between elbow to hand. That would be like where I'd be aiming, on his sword arm.
Yeah, and as the blade cuts down down his arm and onto his hand, uh, tearing at the flesh and down to the bone with such a deep cut, uh, he's left with a terrible scar uh, down his arm and onto his hand. At the very least, if you're defeated, you will leave him with a nasty wound which will never fully go away.
Excellent. Then I'm going to bonus action and attack him with the broken arrow of his son. I'm going to try and put
Oh,
that up
man.
into his tongue under his chin for a crit. That's another crit on the black die.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That's going to be 5 piercing damage to the chin.
The
All right,
weirdo
give
is
me
with
another
you.
D10 then.
Okay. It's a 7.
That is another nasty scar.
Oh, God.
As you shove the arrow up into his you said into his chin, right?
Yep. Trying to like stab it up under his chin into his like up through his tongue and into his mouth.
Yeah, and it pierces pretty deep up through the bottom of his chin, and his blood begins to just pour down from the underside of his mouth. Again, you will leave him now with many nasty scars. Should he somehow survive the occasion?
Now it's his turn.
Yeah, and then he's been just reduced to a bloody mess right off the bat. He will still try to strike at you. All right, and that is going to be a 23 to hit, which I'm guessing is going
Oh yeah.
to hit.
16 is my AC.
That is a 1 on the damage die, so it's going to be for 4 damage total only.
I am very
He brings
bloodied.
up he brings up his sword to try to strike you down, and he strikes true, but not quite as true as he would have hoped. And despite the injuries you sustained, it's still not enough. He begins to shake with fear as he looks up at you. That'll be your move again.
Athelstan will just be watching the rest of the crowd. If anyone moves to sort of interfere in any way, he'll stop them. He'll throw a spear if necessary.
Yeah, I think that Alden would do the same kind of be across from Athelstan, across from the fight, and just be looking at the other side, just kind of scanning the crowd as well.
Do you
you can
confess?
see the,
I'll say to my uncle, do you yield? Sorry, Jeff, you go.
I was just going to say, you can see the eyes of the warriors sat around the table, just looking eagerly at the battle. Althastan and Alden, you would just see them watching intently, but none of them move a muscle as they watch, almost as if that this is the outcome that they were hoping for. And go ahead, Yadmar.
Yeah, I was just going to see if this Kerr, my uncle, our uncle, will yield, admit defeat and guilt.
What does it matter if I yield? You'll kill me anyways.
I'll just say to that, I will kill you if you do not yield.
And if I do?
I'll use you to send a message from the gods.
The silence kind of falls over. And then with a yell, he raises up his arm with his blade in hand. But Yadmar, you're faster.
Fair enough. I'll leave the broken arrow of the snake in him, and I'll clutch his son's longsword in two hands again as I try and cut the arm off that he's raising against me. His right arm offends me. But he's wily, and even though I'm like quick to act, I'm not as accurate as he is. I miss. I like swooshed over the top with the blade, aiming like too much force into it. Yeah, for 10 totals.
I imagine his Yadmar's eagerness gets the better of him. And instead of going for a strike to the chest to finish him off, the blow to the arm does not quite work.
Yep.
He dodges to the side, pulling his sword and his sword arm out of the way, taking this opportunity to return fire as he cuts horizontally. And that is going to be for a 16 on the dot.
That hits.
It's going to be for 7 damage.
Yeah, I imagine the blade like smashes the chain links and like stabs through me and like makes like a TP at like the back of my shirt out of the chain, like going all the way through. There's a sickening sound, like a stink, and he's like, oh! And yeah, here's his father's words again, as he has all through today. You know, something like pride goeth before the fall. He could have ended it, and now his pride might end him.
Yeah, and with this, Kenrick will just let out just a sickening laugh. He twists the blade before pulling it out.
Yeah, there's the sound of like someone spilling milk in a hurry as he does, and I'll like try with my fleeting strength to bury my blade in him.
Awesome.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
going to be a 20 to hit
that'll do it.
for 9 slashing damage.
All right, with 9 slashing from the bloody onslaught that you've unleashed, that will be enough to slay your treacherous uncle.
Then I'll try and cut off his hand. So as he clutches at the ruined stump, trying futilely to stifle the flow of blood, his blade clangs to the ground, and his life fades too quickly from the many wounds sewn upon his body for him to like grasp the blade and see Warden's halls. And then I'll slump down into unconsciousness because I'm on 2 hit points.
And as Yadmar falls into unconsciousness, Kenrick falling into death, the warriors at the table will stand. The one that had fetched Kenrick's blade approaches towards the remaining 2 of you.
Do we know him?
You would know that this is basically the captain of the Lord's forces.
Mm-hmm. He's champion.
And, yes, he's the Lord's champion. This is Barclay the bear, named such for his massive stature. And he leans down to the Lord, the former Lord Kinnerick, picking up his blade. And he looks up, down at Yadmar, and then up at Alden. And taking Yadmar for dead, will look to Alden and say, guess that me, Lord. And he takes blade and he lays it down in front of him and kneels. The other warriors do so as well.
And so will Athelstan. Alden.
Alden would not be able to hide the absolute shock and disbelief on his face. And he would just stand there for a moment, just looking from person to person, his eyes finally resting on Yadmar as he lays unmoving.
And the voice of Athelstan starts with a familiar death poem that would be gradually, I think, probably taken up by the rest of the warriors in the hall. Where is the horse gone? Where the rider? Where the giver of treasure? Where are the seats at the feast? Where are the revels in the hall? Alas for the bright cup! Alas for the mailed warrior! Alas for the splendor of the prince! How that time has passed away, dark under the cover of night, as if it had never been. And
Alden
then
would
again,
look.
there's a silence and they're all looking at Eldin again.
Alden would look towards Athelstan and nod in gratitude for one and honoring his brother, and also giving him a moment, a breath, to kind of process everything. And immediately he would say to the champion of the Lord and say, I want Kenrick's head resting on a pike and put in the square for who has supported him knows that they are damned. And I would like a proper burial for Yadmar, the best. We must start at once, and he would turn sword of his father in hand and walk slowly up to the seat kind of looking at Athelstan to come up with him, motioning to kind of sit near him, and he would turn back towards the crowd and slowly sit into the Lord's chair.
And as he sits, Athelstan starts beating on his shield.
And then Barclay does as well, following in his stead, and then the other warriors hailing their new lord. And as they do so, this scene fades away, and we end in the same way we began, though with one less, as the sons of Ormond, now their widowed mother, and the next fresh grave funeral have their brother. That's where we will end the session.
Nice.
Hmm. Picking up on me actually. It might be just me. I'll refresh.
Oh, it's a bit roboty too.
Yeah, no, yeah, for me it is too.
A bit.
The internet. Anything there now?
Yeah, that's all good.
Sounds better.
And that's horrible. I'll go ahead and end the broadcast here though. But thanks to anybody who watched. Thanks to you guys for playing. That was a lot of
Thanks for running, Jeff. It was great.
yeah. But
Yeah, that was so much fun.
This,
Yep.
See you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for running, Jeff.
Yeah, I think of the internet. It was like our enemy right at the end there. It went a little bit roboty, but now it seems okay. I think my connection's all right. It broke up a little bit towards your outro, Jeff, but I think I got the main gist of it.
Yeah, same for me. It was good, like all the way through, which is awesome. It's very lucky that.
Yeah, 99% of the way through.
Yeah.
Oh, that poem that Caius read. He always cuts me in half when he does it, when he reads his poetry.